Greetings and welcome to another exciting episode of the Why I Love Disney podcast, and happy Halloween to all of you out there. This is the Halloween episode. We're recording this a couple days before, but it probably will be released on Halloween. David, Easton, happy Halloween, fellas.
Hey, happy Halloween.
Now, are you all going trick-or-treating? You have any big Halloween plans?
I do not. How about you, Easton?
Not that I know of.
But y'all never dress up and go out and you get your best Mufasa costume or whatever it is you would wear your maybe Mickey Mouse ears and head out to
after all the years of having to help kids find costumes and figure out what they were going to be. No, I retired. I haven't dressed up in quite a while.
Okay, what is
now? Easton has a good Spider-Man costume.
Yeah, I do. But it doesn't fit me. My muscles are too big. My muscles got too big for the suit.
Your muscles
I can't wear it anymore.
That's great. Just off the top of your head, just a quick guess. What would you say, David, in your household with your kids, the ratio from year to year of Disney costumes to anything else would it be? Are you looking at 50-50? Is it 90-10, almost all Disney princesses and Disney costumes? Or were actually surprisingly very rare were they Disney characters?
It was pretty rare. I remember my son being, definitely there was a Buzz Lightyear costume. We've got great pictures of that. Mostly the girls like to create their own. They did a lot of I want to go as the 90s or the 80s or, something like that. They went more stuff like that. I don't really remember the girls going as a Disney character. I would have to I'd have to really ask. Maybe when they were little, they actually went. We had a lot of these animal costumes, and they liked going as different animals. My wife bought all these costumes for play, and we had cows and pigs and lambs and giraffes and bears, and they would kind of use that stuff and make something up. They did that quite a bit. But that was when they were really little.
Easton, how about you in your house when y'all were kids? Lots of Disney characters?
Not really. Not a lot of Disney characters. We really didn't go really all out that much with costumes. We would have maybe a mask. We did the classic, one year we would do a knight, or we might do a ninja, crazy stuff like that. Later, once I got farther into high school, doing Halloween parties, not necessarily trick-or-treating, but friends are having parties, to go to Halloween party. Then it was more fun to do something that was a little more out of the ordinary. So I've done a couple where I might try a Jack Sparrow, or I might try I've never done Powerline, but I would like to do him sometime. I would like to be Powerline for Halloween. I think that'd be a fun costume to put together.
There you go.
It's funny though. I would say we haven't done a lot of Disney characters with my kids, but then we have Marvel. So our kids have been tons of Disney characters if you count them, right? Yeah. So from Spider-Man to Iron Man to the Hulk, I think we've been all of them at some point. So yeah, it surprises me that our family have been them more than y'all. So. But I guess that's how it goes.
I don't really know how. I think I was trying to think of what my son did as he got older. I think he did a lot of sports stuff and probably utilized equipment that he had and just did something that was less cumbersome to wear. I'm not sure. I think he probably went as a soccer player a few times because that was quick and easy, and whatever it took to get the candy,
Oh yeah, you got to put in minimal effort at least.
I'll have to ask him. I'll ask him. I'll get some updates about. I do remember one time he went as a cowboy. I do think he probably went. It was probably Woody. He just went as a cowboy, but that was elementary, and I think that was based on something from school. He already had some costume from school, and he decided to do that. One time, I think he might have gone as a baseball player. He always played soccer, but I think he did something like that. So I'll have to ask him. The girls, I definitely remember. I remember one going as a Hogwarts student. I remember
We've done that quite a bit too.
The Valley Girl, the '80s girl, the one time they was American. My girls grew up with the American Girl toys, and so they went as some kind of American Girl dolls. So again, that was when they were little. I think they kind of, as they got more like the older, when they were their oldest going out, it was always more like something more teenager, like again a '90s, '80s vibe or a '70s vibe instead of a princess or something like that.
Well, do you have any costumes for this year? Are either of you dressing up for any reason whatsoever?
I'm going to dress up as a tired dad and just sit and watch some TV. I don't know what I'm going to do Halloween. I'm not sure what we'll do. But no, I'm not heading out this year. We do. I think I said this in the last one. We have a friend that has a big Halloween party in their neighborhood. It's not a party. It's like a big gathering, and they have lots of great desserts and prizes and things like that out for the neighborhood and things. And we usually go by their house and visit with some friends and hang out for a few minutes. So we'll probably do that.
Easton, dressing up at all?
No, unless I want to try to get myself back into that Spider-Man costume. I don't have any. I don't have any costumes.
Let me know if you do that. I'll come. I'll bring my camera and take some pictures.
Well, I would have to be. I'd have to be Peter B. Parker from Into the Spider-Verse with the sweatpants. I'd have to be him.
No, I think I'm wearing my disco suit. So I've got the rainbow disco suit with the wig. Yeah. And I think my wife and I were going to put a disco ball out by the end of the driveway and put some lights out there and the Sonos speakers and play disco music and hand out candy. So
you know what, I think I need to come up there and get that Donkey Kong suit. It's what I need to do.
There you go. We dress up often, just not for Halloween. It's weird.
Yeah.
Without context, that's super weird. But anyhow. Donkey Kong costume. Yeah. I actually dressed up like a donkey last year. Had that donkey zip-up suit thing. And I should have put a purple shirt on that. I could have been Eeyore. So I didn't think about that. Maybe that's a way to modify it in the future, so I don't have to buy a new costume, right?
There you go.
All right. Well, lots of cool Halloween stuff. Speaking of before, I know Easton has done a little research on the best lore of Disney kind of horror stories, the ghost stories of Disney. We'll talk about that in a minute. But first, David, are there any updates on some Disney news? Are there anything going on out there that we need to be and our listeners need to be updated on?
I saw. Actually, I think a lot of the news is getting overshadowed by the just the regular news and politics, and I don't know if there's so much going on just in that arena that there seems to be less talk. But I did see Walt Disney World News today reported that they had confirmation that ground was being moved behind Big Thunder Mountain, that they were excavating land. So whether you're excited for that or not, that seems to be something that's happening. I also saw that they were going to discontinue the Spider-Man Stunt Spectacular. Is that what it's called? Stuntronics. I guess it's Stuntronics. The flying animatronic that of Spider-Man going through the air at the DCA area in Disneyland. And so I'm really sad to hear that could be discontinued this fall. That was one of the best things. That really was the best thing in that land, was just going over there and seeing this Spider-Man sail through the air. And so if they cut that, that whole area is kind of sad. I think they already cut Doctor Strange's show, so be kind of sad if they cut the Spider-Man as well. But it sounds like he's going to go away. And they Walt Disney World News today said it was for budgetary reasons, so they could save that money for the upcoming attraction. So, there we go.
More budget.
So I did see that. Yeah. There's still talk about lightning lanes and all the expensive things that you can buy to avoid the lines now, and then the finding a replacement for Bob Iger in 2026. People that gets a lot of news lately. I don't know if you guys have watched that, but a lot of talk about who's going to succeed him.
Yeah, who are they saying it's going to be?
I think you.
I'd take it. I'd take the pay increase. I
They
would
said
get rid
that
of
nobody
Genie.
wants
If
it,
I were
so that-
CEO, we'd get
Yeah.
rid of Genie Plus Lightning, the whole thing. We'd get rid of it all immediately.
Well, you've got my vote.
Well, I'm not sure if they, I think without much, it just seems obvious that it would be Dana Walden. If they don't pick her, I'll be shocked. I'm not saying she's the best or the worst. I just think that's what they'll do. I may be wrong. She's from the film side more than the park side. I think they'll look for somebody like that. So, maybe not. We'll see. I hope they'll at least look on the outside. I feel like it's time for personally it's time for like an era where they bring in an Eisner, where they bring in somebody with fresh ideas and with a different, but we'll see.
Be great if they brought in a fan or somebody who really loved it rather than another just Wall Street person.
Well, look, and again, looking back, it's always easier to look back. But that was one of the best things about Eisner and Frank Wells is you had two heads really, and you had a financial person, and you had creative people, and they're all working together as opposed to just someone who's doing it on their own, and you really don't know who they're relying on. And so many of the great creatives that could have been a part of that team are gone now. So I'm not sure who they would turn to for that. So
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but we will see. How long does Iger's contract last, David? Do you know that?
I think to 2037.
Oh goodness.
I'm kidding. No, I think like 2026. Still a long time.
Do you think he lasts that long?
I guess if you have, I don't know. We talked about that before too. I guess it depends if how Wall Street. There was a story that was running this morning about investors not excited about things that are happening. You just never know. I never know how to know if what's right in this climate, what's real news and what's made up. So time will tell.
We shall see. Have you been watching it? Have you watched anything? Have you seen anything new with Disney? As far as like on Disney Plus or caught any movies? I told y'all we talked last week about how we watched Ichabod, Crane, and Mr. Toad as a family. But when we kind of around Halloween, if we have any tradition, it's trying to watch some sort of spooky movie or Halloween themed movie. So that was last time. We also are caught up on Agatha All Along, which I'll talk about in a second. But have y'all seen anything before I get into that?
I've watched some older things, but I've not really watched any new things, and I've not watched Agatha, but I did watch several old films and things that I haven't seen in a while, but just some random stuff here and there. Nothing in particular.
Easton?
Yeah, I haven't really done much of watching of anything. The only thing, and it's not even Disney related, the only thing that we've talked about even considering watching, not necessarily for Halloween, but just surrounded by fall and winter, is my wife and I have thought about trying to do a Harry Potter marathon and watch the Harry Potter movies again.
There you go.
Which could be fun, but it's not even, it's not even Disney related.
Well, let me give you. I'm going to put this on the recommended list because it keeps getting better and better. But man, I'm telling you, I know there's been controversy around Agatha All Along for many reasons. One of which is like, is it good? Is it cheesy or whatever? I'm telling you, I kind of digging it. Like I just finished episode 7, and this Wednesday night, the final 2 episodes come out. They actually released the final 2 on the same night. And so there's 2 episodes left, and I'm telling you, it's super interesting. I think the writing's really good. I think the acting's really good. I think it's incredibly creative, especially given the sense of like, apparently it's the lowest budget of the Marvel series thus far. And what I like about it, it kind of has that old school feel in terms of like more of a, I won't say Jim Henson-esque, but like the sets feel like real. Like it feels like old Hollywood tricks, right? And not a ton of like special effects. And I really enjoy that. I think that it's creative. It's kind of hocus pocus meets Marvel meets maybe like the Goonies or Labyrinth with David Bowie. It's kind of odd and it's a little dark and witchy, but at Halloween that can be a lot of fun too. But man, we've really enjoyed it, and I'm really hoping that the final episodes pay off and the characters are super interesting and just so I'm going to throw that on my recommended list. And I don't know if you guys are just eager to jump in and watch it or anybody else is, but it's gone from, hey, it's pretty good, we'll see how it happens, to now I'm like, it's pretty riveting television.
Well, that's what I've been hearing, like looking on reviews and things, is it's kind of doing the exact same thing that it felt like Obi-Wan was doing, where at the beginning everyone was like, I don't know. And now that it's gotten farther and farther into the series, everyone's kind of like, no, this is good. So I'm actually planning on starting it and trying to watch through it. I've got a pretty long drive to make coming up, I think this weekend. So I'll probably put it on, not to watch because I don't look at my phone while I drive. We all know this. But I'll put it on and listen and kind of glance every now and then. But definitely not watch because I'm driving.
Definitely not watch. Please do not. I'm gonna hold you to that.
Look, I found the last episode 7 that I just watched. It kind of hit me and occurred to me that the character development is actually pretty good, because there's a key character that maybe in episode 1 and 2 you just sort of were annoyed by, and you thought you saw the cast and they all came in, and you're like, am I gonna like these characters, or are these characters gonna annoy me? And I found myself just really attached and really caring what happens. I also love that throughout the series they've been in something I think is a product of modern television, is there aren't any like sacred cows, or that's not the word. There aren't any like rules to follow. Does that make sense? Where, well, anything could happen at any point, right? There's always a surprise right around the corner, and something that wouldn't be conventional for television, so it keeps you on your toes. It kind of does that too. So there's always some suspense, and you're always, it seems like, surprised by something. Even like, I can't believe the writers decided to do that here, right? Season 1, episode 4, or whatever it is. And I find that more and more, and the more you get attached to the characters, the more fun the writers can have in drawing you in and kind of surprising you even more. So there's some emotional moments. It's also some dark moments. They're battling, but man, I've really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. So I'm going to move it to my recommended list. Easton has done a little research, and we thought in the spirit of Halloween we would talk about some of the legends and some of the ghost stories around Disney. And what's funny is that you mentioned a couple before we came on air, and Dave was like, yeah, I know that one. I've heard that one. So I'd love to just discuss these, and what are these things? And I've heard, growing up in Florida, you would always hear like, oh, somebody died on this ride. Or, ooh, there's one time this person, fell out of the cable cars, or this person, got out of, never get out of your cart in Haunted Mansion because you did, and it's dark, and this girl got caught in the tracks, and she screamed, and nobody knew she was screaming because the whole track is screaming, and they didn't know until days, until they saw the blood, I've heard all these like urban legends around Disney. So Easton, tell us some of the most famous ones, and are they true or not?
I've got 4 stories here. 3 of them are not very long. The last one is a little lengthy, but I think it's the most interesting. So here we go. So this first story is Walt Disney's ghost in Disneyland, which is a very famous story. Walt Disney had an apartment above the Main Street Fire Station at Disneyland. This is where he would stay overnight, oversee the park. He was known for his dedication and was often seen walking the grounds. After he passed away, Disney employees left a light on in the apartment window to honor him. However, some cast members have reported the light turning off or flickering without any human intervention. In one story, a cleaning lady reportedly turned the light off as part of her nightly duties, only to find it mysteriously switched back on each time she returned. Rumor has it that she heard a voice whisper, "I'm still here." Since then, employees are said to leave the light on to respect Walt's lingering spirit.
There you go. I wonder what she heard the voice. Was it in his own voice, or was it like in Mickey Mouse's voice?
I'm not sure which would be more terrifying.
Well, it's definitely would be nice to think that if there's a ghost in this world that it's Walt Disney, just hanging out and still enjoying his park a little bit, and there with his employees and that would be nice to think about.
That would be nice
But
to think about.
I have heard some of those stories. If you saw him, like if you did see him somewhere like in Pirates or Haunted Mansion, that might be a different take on that. But if he's still hanging around in the firehouse, that's kind of sweet, I suppose. But I do think that's really amazing that they still have that apartment, that they have preserved a good portion of that. I mean, I know it's not. I mean, some of the items are probably at the Disney Family Museum in San Francisco, but I mean, it's still a good replica. A lot of it's still there, and you can see what it was like when he was there. But I like that they've kept it that way. At least it's not like a pin shop or a T-shirt shop up there. they've preserved that as a little memorial. That is nice.
Okay, so this next one is about a ghost named George. During the construction of Pirates in Disney World, a worker allegedly named George is rumored to have died in an accident. Since then, cast members have kept up the tradition of saying "Good morning, George" at the beginning of the day and "Good night, George" at closing to avoid mishaps. On days when they forget, the ride is said to experience unexpected breakdowns, and strange occurrences have been reported, like items moving on their own, strange noises, and even faint voices. Guests occasionally report feeling a sudden chill, hearing whispers, or even seeing a shadowy figure around the loading area. This tradition is so ingrained that some cast members consider George an honorary cast member himself.
Yes, that is definitely one of the ones I've heard a lot through the years. Did you ever see George when you lived in Florida?
I've never seen George.
I'm not sure if George is. I guess they've heard George and felt George's presence, and they've seen the handiwork when George, when the ride breaks down, if they forget to tell him good morning. But I don't know if George has been spotted. Now I definitely have, there's some videos you can see online where people have captured footage of what they say are ghosts walking around the lawn or the entryway of Haunted Mansion. But I don't know if I've ever seen a picture of George, but I have heard that story. That's a good one. I'm not sure if they've ever found any proof that anyone ever died in the building of Pirates, though, but I guess that's what it comes down to, that whether there's real proof of a real George or not. But the legend lives on.
How do they know his name is George? Did they ask him, or?
I guess whoever started the story knew that the guy that died was George.
Okay, I guess that would make sense. Okay.
Remember George? George, I can't remember his last name, but George.
Old George.
Old George that slipped a lot.
He was very clumsy, that George.
Clumsy George.
So our next story is centered around the Haunted Mansion. Now, okay, this is the Haunted Mansion.
Is this the girl that gets trapped in the that I mentioned before?
No,
did you make that one up, or did you make that one up, or have you heard that one?
So I've actually heard something similar. I made the details up. I'm not sure about the detail. I just sort of popped off the top of my head.
I feel like you're crisscrossing a few different old stories into one. But
well, that's how urban legends are made.
That is it. That's it.
So no, I've heard something similar, but not exactly what I said.
That alone, even if there's no strange paranormal stuff that goes on after, that story on its own is just a creepy story.
Well, I've not worked at the parks, but I do know that you couldn't. I don't think you could be missing for several days, because I know that they say people try to scatter their relatives' ashes and if you do that, they get vacuumed up at that day. So obviously there's some maintenance and some checking that goes on. But who knows? Maybe back in the day they weren't as diligent to check the tracks.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because the Haunted Mansion has always been a magnet for strange stories and alleged ghost sightings. This story is actually centered around a mother who scattered her son's ashes inside the ride after he passed away. She did this to fulfill his last wish, wanting him to be part of his favorite attraction. Since then, cast members and guests have reported seeing a little boy crying in the queue line or catching a glimpse of him riding alone in one of the Doom buggies. He is said to vanish if anyone approaches him. Other accounts mention hearing unexplained laughter, footsteps, or even a child's voice near the loading area. The attraction has seen so many incidents that it's rumored Disney has installed extra security to prevent guests from spreading ashes, something they've encountered frequently over the years.
All right, so now there's a backstory for why you should do. It's also called a biohazard.
Yeah.
And I think there's a code that if you do that and it gets on somebody else, they have to people have to have new clothes. They have to replace the clothes of the other riders if they get ashes on themselves. So another reason. That? I guess it's because it's a biohazard. You're not supposed to. That's not something you're supposed to breathe or get on you, I suppose. Right? Do you want some stranger's ashes on you?
No, but
and,
I mean,
and it's also
once it's ashes, what's the difference between that and like a pile of dirt? You know what I mean?
And it's also breezy in there. Also, I think it's not dirty. Like that's all an illusion that it's dusty. It's not dusty in there. So if you put your ashes out, it's going to be like, what happened right here? I mean, they're not going to blend in. There's no dust that thick in the Haunted Mansion. So if you throw that out there, somebody's going to come along and go. I think there's even a code for it. I think they even have a code for what that is. Probably in the if you're an operator where they go, here we got another we got another dust ball. Stop the ride. Get that other family some Mickey t-shirts to put on for a while. That's an interesting one. I haven't heard that one. I've heard of people doing that, but I haven't heard now that we have a story that is a reason why they don't want you to throw ashes. I think they just don't want to clean that up. But what if Imagineers just said, hey, let's just every day, let's have something random in the Haunted Mansion that only a few people see. Like, did you see that? There was somebody back there. Who was that? And then nobody else sees it for a few days. And then the next month you do it again, and up in the attic, you just show this little projection, this blurry projection of somebody, and then it goes away for a while. And just keep freaking people out till everybody's really convinced that it really is haunted. Like, wait a minute, what was that? I've never seen that before. And then nobody else sees it, but a few people capture it on their camera. That would really, probably drive people in there. But
for sure,
that would be fun. You could do a lot in there to keep people guessing. You come around from one room to another, and they blow dust in your face.
Here's our last story. The Phantom of Fantasyland is the title of this story. Every night after the lights dim and the last guests leave, Fantasyland falls under a strange, quiet spell. Most cast members will finish their nightly duties as quickly as possible, eager to avoid the figure they call the Shadow Host. It started one evening when a custodian was cleaning the back of Peter Pan's flight after hours. Just as he finished wiping down the last seat, he felt a presence. He looked up to find an unfamiliar cast member dressed in a faded costume from the 50s with an outdated name tag that simply read Charlie. The custodian, startled but polite, asked, "Are you lost?" Charlie simply smiled and replied, "No, just here to make sure everyone gets home safely." Thinking nothing more of it, the custodian nodded, but as he turned around, Charlie had vanished without a trace. He mentioned it the next day to a few other cast members, only to have one of the other older employees whisper, "You saw him, didn't you?" The Shadow Host, as they explained, had first appeared in Disneyland's earliest days, back when the park was only newly opened. Guests had occasionally reported seeing a strange cast member with a hollow stare lingering at the edge of Fantasyland, usually near Peter Pan's flight or Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. At times, guests even said they felt an invisible hand gently pulling them back from the edge of the ride platform. But the strangest part, whenever anyone asked his name, he would always reply, "Charlie," before disappearing into the shadows. As the years went on, Charlie became a legend among Disneyland employees. Those who worked alone in Fantasyland late at night sometimes felt the eerie sensation of being watched or would hear faint whispers urging them to hurry home. A few brave souls who dared to follow the voice claimed it led them directly out of the park into the Main Street exit. According to the story, Charlie was once a devoted cast member who died unexpectedly during a shift, though no record of his employment remains. Some say he returns each night to make sure every visitor and employee leaves safely. Others believe he's simply searching for his way home. But be warned, on rare nights if you happen to see Charlie standing near the Peter Pan's flight ride, staring into the distance, it is said he'll turn to you with a vacant expression, reach out and whisper, "Will you help me find my way home?" It's a tale that spooked cast members and guests alike, and Fantasyland veterans swear you can still feel Charlie's presence if you're alone there after hours. So next time you're in Disneyland's Fantasyland, look closely near Peter Pan's flight. You might just catch a glimpse of the shadow host still making his rounds.
There you go. How about that? That kind of reminds me one time, this was about, what was it? Sometime after the pandemic, and I had gone down to Walt Disney World and John David and I were there for a couple of days, and he had to go back to school for one night, and so I had to stay. I was in the Magic Kingdom just one day before he had to go take a test and come right back to school, and was coming right back. And so it was late at night, and I went to the Enchanted Tiki room because I was just out. It was like there wasn't a big line there, so I thought, hey, I'm going to get in here one more time. And so when I go in, it was just me and one other family. It was a mom and a dad and a little boy and a little girl. And I thought they kind of looked strange because they kind of looked like they were in costumes. Like they looked like they were dressed like the 1970s. Like it was just kind of weird. Like, that's interesting, you know. But anyway, they're kind of busy about getting ready what they're doing. And but then they came in, and I was sitting kind of on the second row there as you come in the door, and they kind of sat really close too, and I thought that was kind of weird because like they've got the whole room and they're kind of sitting right near me. So anyway, I was like, "How you doing?" And they were like, they were. And then the mom was busy with the kids, and I just talked to the dad for a second, and they were like I think he said they were definitely from Tallahassee, and he, was kind of talking, and he said that they were the Marshall family, and so they're talking, and so anyway, the thing starts, and they're kind of enjoying it, the show starts and everything, and then when it gets to and they've enjoyed the whole thing, and the kids are laughing, and they're clapping along, and then when it gets to the storm scene, and the lights go out, they screamed. I mean, like, they were terrified, and when the lights, and I was like, gosh. So anyway, the lights come back up, and they're not there. They're completely gone. And I'm like, what in the world? Where did they go? How did they get out of the door? And so I come out, and I'm there in the cast. When I come out, the cast members are there, and they were like, "Did you enjoy the show?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they were like, "Is that the first time you've ever watched the show alone?" And I was like, "Well, there was another family in there." They were like, "No, there's not another family in there." I was like, "Yes, there was. There was another family in there." So I went back and I looked this up. And there was a Marshall family in the 70s that died on the way back to Tallahassee in a storm from Walt Disney World, 1972.
Whoa! You're just now telling us this?
What? I've never even heard this story before.
And I saw them, and they were right there beside me.
I don't even know what to do from there. But, yeah, listeners, do you have any Disney urban legends you'd like to share, or similar ghost stories of being in the park? Let us know. We'd like to hear them. We'll share them right here on the Why I Love Disney podcast. But until then, guys, happy Halloween to you, and we'll see you next time.